Well, it's early July in East Tennessee and we're getting a break from the heat. You know, we've been having the mid 90s and 100% humidity, so we're getting a bit of a break. And what does that mean in East Tennessee in July? That means about mid 80s to upper 80s and 90% humidity. But at least we're gonna do some work on the skidding trails, doing some stuff without the Kubota, doing stuff with chainsaws and ropes and pulleys. And I thought it would be a good idea to show you all the different equipment that I use that is not the skid steer in terms of preparing the logging trails and skidding trails that have been abandoned here for over 30 to 50 years. So bear with me. We're going to step through from more or less the lowest cost things to the most expensive things I use on the trails. And of course, there'll always be links in the description to Amazon affiliate links where I get a small commission if you happen to buy something that way. But these are the things that I use for the trails. One of the cheapest things is marking tape, and I have this kind of yellow. If we're doing boundaries, you know, we'll have pink for property lines, white and yellow for trails. I'm colorblind, so for me, sometimes it's easier to see white depending on the situation. Sometimes it's easier to see this yellow green color. But this is usually for the property lines, but since it's your own property, if you're marking a trail with pink, you can do that if you want. The next lowest cost things I use are clippers. I actually got these in a garage sale for 15 bucks. And these are just hand nippers that can fit in my back pocket, and they've got a holster so that it's real easy to be able to draw them out, cut, and keep moving. I find this very helpful for the thorn bushes because we do have a lot of those. You can cut them down and keep moving. If you get them tangled up in your shoelaces, that helps a lot. And nippers, you know, find them at any garage sale. I like to go to the garage sales because you can find older stuff that's made a lot more solidly. For those of you who have seen some of my other logging and tree cutting videos, I use a couple of different kinds of rope. Here's two good examples. The breaking strength on these is a couple thousand pounds. And is good for tying off a tree to make sure it falls in a particular direction. Or I'll show you in a bit some block and tackles and snatch blocks that we use to direct trees. Again, on Amazon, 1,000, 2,000 pounds breaking strength. This is also from Amazon, but significantly stronger. This has 11,000 pounds of working strength. And I don't recall what the breaking strength is, but it's higher than that. Very expensive. But there are situations where you want a really strong rope. And again, I got it on Amazon to tie off a tree. And again, sometimes when you cut the tree, you've got the rope tied off to it. The rope catches it and it then swings the tree in a particular direction, you know, around an obstacle. Since we're doing trails, probably won't be needed, but better to have it in the UTV than need it and not have it. Another good thing to have is just a cheap 5-gallon bucket. You know, if somebody's doing some painting, you know, you can clean it out. It's good for carrying things. When we're connecting various ropes to things, having some links that you can use to connect things. Now these are getting into the bit more expensive. This one is called a snatch block. And what it does is allow you to connect with a soft shackle. And you might connect this then around the limb of a tree or with one of the longer ropes, you know, to a trunk of a tree, and then you can run the rope through here and redirect the direction that you're pulling. So if I want the tree to come down this way, but I want to be off over here, I can tie this off, run my rope to the tree, pull this way, and it's going to pull the tree down this way. And we have both just a regular snatch block with a soft shackle. We have a hard snatch block which spins open. These are more expensive. This is about a $50 pulley and attachment. And then more expensive still is an actual block and tackle. Again, I'll link to the descriptions of these. This really significantly increases the strength when you're pulling on the rope, so you run the ropes back and forth. You've seen them on sailing ships and things like that. So if you pull with 100 pounds of force, this is actually going to make it 500 pounds of force when you're pulling on the tree. So a block and tackle, you will have to read the instructions on how to rig this up, but basically the rope loops back and forth between the two of these things, and as you tighten it up, it pulls at 5 times the strength that you're pulling with. Very handy, but expensive. Some towing straps can actually be very handy for attaching some of those pulleys to trees where you're gonna use it as an anchor point to either anchor your pulley or actually attach to the tree itself to pull down. These are rated at 20,000 pounds of braking strength. So they only cost a few dollars. These two are 20 feet long. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can attach to the tree and then pull it in a particular direction. Again, you can store it in your bucket so it's easy to carry. So now we're getting into the things that cost a little more money. Sometimes you can find these on Amazon. Usually it's more like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. The universal attachment for this is called a Ryobi XPand-IT. And this is in their 40 volt series, so it's got plenty of power. I don't have the battery on it at the moment, but they take interchangeable 40 volt batteries with their entire line of 40 volt tools. And so this is the power end, and you can run different things with it. Most people are probably familiar with the weed eaters, that, with the string trimmer that can kill the weeds. This is actually a brush cutter. You can get 2 different kinds of blades. This hard blade like this for cutting small brush, but they also make one that looks like a circular saw blade that can cut through, an inch or 2 worth of tree, and that goes on to that attachment. The other thing that I use, but not so much on clearing of trails, but clearing along the driveway and stuff where you want to make sure the high branches are down, this is actually a pole saw. So it's a mini chainsaw that goes on the pole, and they make extensions onto here so you can be 12 feet, reach 12 feet into the air from the ground. And I much prefer to do my tree cutting from the ground if I can. I prefer not to get on a ladder. And again, it uses that universal XPand-IT power head, same 40 volt battery. So I do really like being able to use the same tools, with this XPand-IT line. Nobody's sponsoring me to say that. We just happen to have picked Ryobi for our line string trimmer for doing the lawn. Then we got an electric lawnmower that was Ryobi, same kind of batteries, 40 volt, and I just kept going that way, which leads me to my last and most expensive tool. So my last and most expensive tool is the Ryobi chainsaw. Now this one's the 18-inch. Again, runs on the standard 40 volt battery. You can run them in different sizes. They make it as small as 2 amp hours. I think they go as high as 8 or 10 amp hours. Obviously, the bigger the amp hours, the heavier it is. So I like to run this with a 4 or a 5 amp hour battery. Usually, for the kind of trimming I'm doing, maybe 1 or 2 batteries I'll use in a whole day of cutting. But again, it depends on how much cutting you're gonna do. Today, for working on clearing the skidding trails, I will bring at least 2 batteries with me, maybe 3. It does still need oil for the lubricating the chain, but it is much quieter than a gas chainsaw, and in my opinion, it's worked just as well, because I've had gas chainsaws in the past, and this has worked very well. 2 last tools to mention. One very cheap, one very expensive. The cheap one, it's in my pocket here. Earplugs. Even though these tools are electric, if you're going to run the chainsaw all day long, it's probably loud enough. You should probably wear earplugs. If I was just cutting a branch or 2, using it for 10 minutes, I might not bother. But if I'm going to use it a lot like today, those earplugs for like $6, they're the most comfortable earplugs I've ever had. $6 gets you 3 pair. And it's quite the deal, again, from Amazon. But the most expensive tool for what we're going to work on for the trails today is actually this UTV. Before I had this, I used to hand carry this to the work site. So if that meant I was off-road into the property 500, 600 feet, 700 feet, I was carrying all this stuff to the job site. And by having this UTV and being able to drive it much closer, it really saves a big burden. So now I can have my cooler with ice water, I can have drinks, I can recharge my phone if I need to. It really helps a lot to have this UTV. Now, if you saw my video before, I got this at an auction, so I got it at a pretty good discount. This was an all-electric LANDMASTER UTV, and I got it for $5,300, $5,300. I think brand new, if you bought a 2024, for the configuration of this, two-wheel drive is probably $15,000. So watch auctions, go to auctions. You can get good deals. You just may have to wait a really long time to get a good deal. So that's some of the tools I use. So I'm going to work on clearing a skidding trail today, and we'll make two separate videos of that. We'll have this video is just on the equipment, and we'll do a separate video on how we're going through the logging trail. So hope this is helpful to you. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.